What's up, guys? Thanks for clicking on the video. I'll just say that to start off the video. I'm so excited to just actually jump right into this because this Prem Div leg is so stacked with all the teams that is in it, and it's actually just bonkers to think that one of these super good teams are just gonna fall out this leg. It's absolutely insane. Without any further ado, we're getting into number 10, and that is gonna be Hilux 5 for me. So their roster, it's Tweaks, K, Xanax, FaZe, and Rise. So Tweaks and K, they've played in a team together before, being Must CSGO, with the Rise, Xanax, and FaZe being super new pickups into this team. Their record on first of was 7-2 with losses against Bravado and Dynastic. That's going to be a bit of a stinger because they're not that well known of a team, so it is a bit of like a ick type of thing, because you're going into Prem and you're playing against the likes of your Zions, WRGs, Sun 5s, Bravados, Goliath Gaming, Dynamic, like all of these blockbuster names, right? And you've lost to a lesser known team, so that is gonna sting, and that is one of the main reasons that I've put them at number 10. Another reason for that none of these players have ever played in Prem Divs before, so my advice to them, just use this leg to gain experience, and more than anything, who knows, maybe they can upset a team, they can probably beat a team like a Ex-Astros or a Rage Quit, but anything more than that would be a shock, to say the least. So getting into number 9, it's gonna be Ex-Astros. This roster consists of Electrics, Arkan, Clowny, Natural, and Raz. So Raz, Natural, and Arkan, I believe, have never played in Prem before, and Clowny maybe also not. The only reason I'm not sure is because I know he played for Ex-Astros back in the day, like 2018, 2017. So, and I think they were in Prem back then, so he might have been in Prem before. But the person who has for certain been in Prem before is Electrics. He spent numerous legs before with different rosters. Berserk was the one roster, now kind of a meme, brought to life by Talk Life, and then C5, which I was actually a part of back in the day. Their record at first of was 7-2. They placed second for their group, which is not too bad. First place in their group was taken by Rage Quit, so you can probably think who's coming right after Ex-Astros. But looking at their record in ECA, they've made it into the playoff finals for ECA Open, so that is in itself a great result for them. Just like putting themselves above the lower ranked teams per se, like not really your top. I would say if you could subdivide ZA teams, then probably your top 10 is tier 1, and if you have your top 11 to top 20 as your tier 2, then they've established them as one of the leading top tier 2 teams in South African Counter-Strike today. And just looking at the fragging capability of this team, man. Natural, looking at his ECA stats, 323 kills, 90 ADR. Clowny, 80 ADR, and Raz also very close to 80 ADR. So I mean, those are 3 players that can absolutely just put the numbers on the server, and that is exactly what you need if you're going up against your bigger teams. The pure reason for me placing them at number 9 is just because that they're still relatively new and unproven. I don't think they've been together more than 2 months, actually. Might be a bit longer, might be a bit shorter. So going up against the bigger names of ZACS, still relatively unproven. They haven't gone up against them, and it will be a pretty good indicator of where they lie when they play against your White Rabbit Gaming, your Zions, and your Sinister 5s. Getting into number 8, it's going to be Rage Quit. Roster consisting obviously of Deadshot, Trident, JWC, Glitchy, and Zy6. Now Zy6, the IGL of this team, he's got so much experience. Actually, a lot of you might not know, but he played for Veneration back in the day when Prem Div was still called Masters. So this is way back when, and he's gonna be such an integral part of his team for this leg. Their record of first of was 9-0, first place in their group, which is pretty solid to take that record into Prem. That is going to give them a bit of confidence. They've also, alongside Ex-Astros, made into the ECA Open playoff final, so that's great for them. And if they can beat Ex-Astros, then that would probably solidify them in this 8th place standing, that's for sure. But I will say the only reason that I have placed Rage Quit above Ex-Astros, because I believe that these teams are so close to each other. The only reason that I've put Rage Quit above Ex-Astros is purely because of the IGL battle, right? Your Zy6 versus your Ark, and Zy6 so experienced, and he's basically got an 80 ADR, whereas Arkan, he's got a 70 ADR at the moment in the ECA. So I mean, just going off of experience and fragging power of the IGL battle, I'm just going to go for Zy6, and therefore I'm going for Rage Quit, because style play is very similar between the teams. Triton might be winning the battle versus Natural. He's got 109 ADR, which is the top of the ECA Open in terms of ADR. 333 kills, also top of the ECA Open kills wise, and then the two players right behind him is JWC and Deadshot, both trailing on a very nice 86 ADR, which is actually super good. But just guys, keep in mind, this is stats from the ECA Open season, so they might be a bit inflated, and obviously when they do move to intermediate next season, that's probably going to be going down a bit. So I will just reiterate that this is just my opinion. Okay, the next 7 teams, all brilliant, excellent teams, but one of them is going to have to drop to first of next leg, right? And I've just put this team, so a lot of you are going to probably hate on me or click off the video. Please don't. I will explain why I've put this team in number 7 very shortly. So it's going to be White Rabbit Gaming. Now, I know you guys are going to hate on me for this, and I would love White Rabbit Gaming to prove me wrong, because literally as I'm reading this out, I'm thinking, damn, this is probably a mistake from my side, because looking at their record in Primitive, they finished 5th. In the ECA Intermediate, they actually finished in a semi-final spot, so they finished 3rd, 4th, which is absolutely amazing, and they just had an absolutely banging ECA season. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why on earth would I put them in number 7? So the reason, or one of the reasons why I'll jump into that when I'm discussing the team that is actually in number 6, the matches that White Rabbit Gaming are going to be playing against your likes of your Sin 5s, your Big 5s, and your Zions. I think that can go either way, and I just have a slight feeling that that is not going to go the way of White Rabbit Gaming. It might actually go the way of White Rabbit Gaming, and White Rabbit Gaming might actually beat a Sin 5 or a Big 5 or a Zion, and then we can see my predictions of 47 just basically flipping around a lot. So again, this is not to be taken personal by any of the players or supporters at all. As I said, if WRG, they can show up and they can start delivering from their very first match, then they're going to be quite the force to be reckoned with. And then they can probably place as high as 4th if they're just delivering from the first match out, which is actually going to be against Zion this Sunday. At the time of recording, I don't quite know what that date is. Probably somewhere 17th, 18th of April. Just guessing. But yeah, now getting into number 6, and a lot of you might think that I'm rating them a bit too high, but I just absolutely think that this team can take it very far. So it's Zion, roster consisting of Bam, Nexus, Fade, and Kana, and Blue. I know a lot of you are going to be thinking like, Des, you put Zion above White Rabbit. Like, White Rabbit, they've just placed top 4. Again, I know this. I know. So I'm going to go over each and single player of Zion and why I think that this team is going to place at least above White Rabbit Gaming, okay? So looking at Nexus, the IGL of Zion, he's an established and experienced IGL that is IGL at the top level of South African Counter-Strike for countless seasons. I mean, thinking back to Omnius Gaming, then changing to Dynamic, obviously a lot of iterations in that Omnius Gaming, and then Dynamic also making a few roster swaps here and there. So he's dealt with a lot of players in his time, and he's pretty much a veteran of the scene. Well, not quite a veteran, but like maybe just below veteran, you know. He's been able to make countless rosters work and get the potential out of most of his players as well, and that's very hard to do as an IGL, and his experience will be monumental for Zion, who have been very much lacking that factor with their previous rosters, where they just don't have that type of experience. So this is going to be absolutely huge. Probably one of the best pickups that has happened now in the off season between leg 1 and leg 2. Then getting into the next player, Bambi, or Bam for short. He's a talent who can find picks with relative ease. He likes to pick up the AWP, he can rifle as well, and he just makes a lot of space for his team. His first leg of Prem, it's now behind him, and he managed to stay in Prem, which I don't think too many players can actually say. A lot of first time Prem players, they just fall out of Prem, you know. Now getting to the star player of Zion, and it's Vaynant. In my opinion, Vaynant, he's the hottest prospect in ZACS right now. He can do everything. He can rifle, he can AWP, he can support, he can entry, he can IGL. He can do absolutely anything. And speaking of IGLing, he's actually been IGLing for Zion in the last few months. So with Nexus now coming in and finally being able to take over from that IGL, it's going to be the equivalent of watching a Rottweiler being released from his leash to just like run free. So that's going to be absolutely insane to see. And I'm predicting that he will be Zion's top player this leg. And keep your eye out for this player in the future, because he is definitely a player to watch out for in the future, not gonna lie. Then getting into second last player of the Zion roster, Blue. He's a very underrated player in the scene, I must say. He actually got an opportunity to play for WRG in a few ECA matches and DGL matches. He was their sub, standing in for Awesome for most of the matches, and he held his own pretty well. I looked at the stats and he was actually top fragging in a few of those matches, which is pretty cool. I mean, looking at the names in that WRG lineup, it's pretty insane that he's actually managed to top frag there. And honestly, he's the type of player that can just run into a site, just completely bulldoze a bomb site and win around for his team just like that. And he does also have chemistry with Vaynant, because they were part of a previous iteration of Zion. Now, the last player rounding out the Zion roster, it's going to be Kana, obviously ex-Outland Kingdom player for the majority of 2020. So for me, Kana, he's the last piece of the puzzle for this lineup, right? He has the experience forming part of that Outland Kingdom lineup, so he's going to be bringing over all that experience of playing against the top teams in ZA. And just his intelligence and pure fragging ability, I think, will bring Zion over the line in more situations than less, obviously. And then he's a very underrated player for me, because he's not really talks about that much, at least when you're talking about like more not talents but like players in general. You're always hearing the massacres, the Mystims, the Slowies, all of these huge like names, household names at this point in the ZACS scene. You don't quite hear Kana being mentioned too much, so I think absolutely excellent pickup there being made from Zion. But the biggest factor for me is obviously the honeymoon factor, because Zion will have that in the first few matches of this leg, right? Brand new roster, actually just Vaynant, Bam and Blue having played together a bit before, but honestly Blue hasn't played with Bam before, so it's pretty much 3 new players just thrown into a roster. So it's gonna either go very well or very bad, and I think it's gonna go very well. But yeah, that's my number 6 pick. Now getting into number 5, it's gonna be Big 5. Looking at the roster, Leggy, Ninjas, Malkis, Gods Not Dead and Mohammed. So without a doubt, Big 5 losing some of their biggest fraggers in back-to-back seasons in EXE last season, obviously, and now Doobie to Dynamic. It will hurt them a lot, and they did manage to rebuild pretty well with Mohammed when they lost EXE, so everything suggests that a rebuild will be possible with Malkis. So Malkis, absolutely awesome pickup that they've made. They're picking up from Zion. He was one of the top performers for Zion in the last leg and should slot pretty smoothly into this roster. Now, I don't exactly know how long they have been practicing with him, but again, as mentioned before, the honeymoon factor will again come to play with them, because I mean, new player, just teams have shown time and time again, when you have 1 or 2 new players in a team, then the confidence, it's just there, you know, the vibes are there, and most of the time the teams are just gelling pretty well together. So just looking at pure fragging ability, Gods Not Dead, he was instrumental for Big 5 in the recently completed ECA playoffs, where Big 5, I believe, placed 5th to 8th. They fell out in the quarterfinals. He managed to maintain an 87 ADR, and that's just absolutely insane, right? in your ECA intermediates, getting an 87 ADR, that's, you don't really hear of that too much, and he will be a huge factor for Big 5. And I'm just going to touch on Mohamed, who I think, again, was very underrated. I'm glad that Big 5 picked him up, because that just means that he's been recognized, you know, and he's just absolutely insane. And I can expect Mohamed to be right alongside with God's Not Dead and be fragging out with him. Then getting to Leggy, man, absolutely insane AWP. I mean, this guy, it just looks so clean when he's AWPing, right? The ability to multi-frag is just always there when he's in a good position, and that is just won countless rounds and countless matches and series for Big 5 in the past, and I'm pretty sure that will continue. I'm quite excited to see what this roster will be able to do with Marquis. Obviously, I did touch on him already, and I'm sure Mr. Big Brain Byron, also known as Ninjask, will be able to integrate him quite quickly and get everyone up to speed. So that is my number 5 prediction. Now getting into number 4, things are getting spicier. So it's Sinister 5. This roster, Frozen, Chappie, Lately, Shia, and Ruben. I'm glad that they decided to stick together and not switch up rosters or change up players, because I think all 5 of these players, they've been gelling together pretty well and they've been delivering excellent results. So this is actually one of the picks that I'm pretty confident in, because they've been able to show their worth. The major reason for my confidence is due to the fact that they've kept the same roster that they had at the beginning of leg 1, and that's really crucial, you know. That just shows the confidence that they have in the team. So looking at the roster, it's got everything you need. Frozen, he has that X factor, and he's also got a star next to his name, which means star player, you know. And he can really sway rounds in his team's favor with his dynamic AWPing and the way he moves around the map, especially on CT side of most maps. That's very important to have in an AWPer. Just being able to get a kill, fall away to another side of the map, and then keep on doing that, you know. And he's just been such a thorn in the side of so many other teams that he's played against. Then Chappie, he's just such a force to be reckoned with, right? I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the mechanics like your Massacres, your Blaze, your Slowies, but what he does do very well, and probably what he's best at, is his positioning, right? He just positions them into such a good place for him to be in to get a multi-frag. And this is why he's got an 89 ADR on the now concluded ECA season. So next player, Lately, he can do it all. He's greatly benefited from playing with the likes of Elusive, Zero Chance, and Deviant last year, which was the previous iteration of Sinister 5. And he really just sponged up everything there is to know about Counter-Strike from those legends of the scene, and he's been carrying very strong form, and I feel like it will be continuing into this leg. So definitely, guys, keep an eye out for Lately. Then going into Shia, he's no stranger to dropping the numbers needed in the server. He's got an 80 ADR in the ECA season, and he definitely knows how to get kills and help his team win rounds, that's for sure. Then lastly, Ruben, IGL of Sin 5. He's since he stepped into Sin 5, the results have been consistent and impressive at that too. Ruben has developed Sin 5 into a well-oiled machine that can prove quite difficult to opponent for a lot of teams to beat, and that is why they've managed to secure themselves top 4 placing for EGL, which is pretty good, and then top 5 to 8 as well for EACA. He's given this team a great structure and sets his teammates up to shine and frag out, where as an IGL he kind of takes the backseat, right? As an IGL you have to do that. You kind of have to make the calls, make the important calls that win you the games, which is crucial to obviously win matches, and a big reason why they finished 3rd in Prem last leg. But now the top 3. So boys, without further ado, number 3, it's gonna be Bravado. So this roster consisting of EXE, Destiny, Flexi, Wipeout, and the Man. For me, this goes without saying. Bravado are the dark horse to place first in Prem this leg. Just looking at their roster, it's star-studded, right? It's filled with firepower and coupled up with experience and real pedigree. This roster to the general public is still a big unknown. They haven't competed in ECA or EGL yet, as a lot of these other teams have. So there aren't any telling signs to reliably estimate where they will be placing this leg. But a legendary org like Bravado is commonly associated with the best of the best, and to a certain degree, this is what they did with the roster. They picked up EXE, who was the star player for Royalty, now well, obviously Big Five. They picked up the man who's one of the most aggressive players in the scene, and he just makes it work, and he frags outright. Dynamic, and then the dynamic duo of Flexi and Wipeout, both ex-Energy players, which then changed to White Rabbit Gaming, obviously, after they left, who were right up there with the best. And then obviously Detrity, probably right up there with the most accomplished players to come from our scene to this day. Attended a major back in 2014 with Bravado, and then embarked on Project Destiny, where he and his team, probably one of the best runs that they've had as a team, one of the best runs that we've ever seen a South African team have, to attend a DreamHack tournament overseas and make it all the way to the final, beating the likes of Optic and G2, and then falling short to the Mighty Ends that went then on to progress to the top 4 of that major. So definitely just an absolutely insane result, Not to even mention, by the way, Bravado's brand new pickup. As I'm recording this video, it's been announced like 20 minutes ago, in the form of Nick as their new coach, which will truly be able to elevate them to that next level. And again, exactly why I said that they are the dark horse to place number 1. I've not seen them play yet. I've only seen their first game of the EGL. I've actually casted that one, but for the rest of it, I've not seen it. I've seen the stats, but not seen actually how they play. So they're a big unknown, and I think they can really make it to number 1. I think they are a big dark horse just because of that unknown factor that they bring, And it's a big reason why I've only given them number 3, just because I can't really put Bravado at number 1 if I've only watched one match of Bravado playing. I need to see how they perform against the big teams. So talking about big teams, my number 2, it's going to be Dynamic. The roster: Heartbreak, Kani, Doru, Divo, and the new pickup, Doobie. So from the moment Dynamic announced Doobie as their new pickup, I was ecstatic. He was, over the past couple of months, the best performer for Big Five, the star fragger, you can say, for Big Five, and replacing Nexus, who arguably hasn't been delivering the big numbers that Doobie has been delivering. It makes complete sense to me. Dynamic, they have an immense amount of potential with their current roster, and there might just be a bit of pressure on their shoulders now, as you've got experience in Kani, who has been actively playing since, believe it or not, but December 2015 when he joined Aperture Gaming. You then have a player like Doru, ex-ACK member, that ranks 7th in the top 10 players of 2020, unofficially put together by Nick, which I just mentioned, the coach of Bravado. So there in itself, you've got a player coming from the best team in South Africa that knows what winning is about and clearly has the firepower that he brings to the table. Now we get to Davo. He knows his way around the ZA scene. He's been playing at a high level for a number of years now, and he's been delivering for his team time and time again, and isn't a stranger to the top of the leaderboard either, which is where he has been at the end of the ECA season for Dynamic. Now finally getting to Heartbreak. He's a key figure in this Dynamic team, as he brings the necessary firepower that you need, and he can pick up rifle, AWP, and wield them to a pretty high standards. So a big player for this Dynamic side and crucial to their success. Now, a team that I think will be placing number 1 in this leg, it's going to be Goliath. So it's quite a scary roster, right? ADM, Dweezil, Massacre, Elusive, and Adara. From start to finish, this roster is filled with quality experience and some scary stats. ADM, Dweezil, and Massacre, they finished in the top 10 rankings in 2020 that I just mentioned, next video that he did. And ADM, he was rated the 6 out of 10, or the 6th best player. Dweezil, he was 10th, and then Massacre, he was 4th. So now the scary part is, right, like, you've got 3 top 10 players in your team. The scary part is that Elusive hasn't even been mentioned yet. Just a few of his stats this season: 89 ADR, 329 kills, which is the 2nd highest in intermediate, ECA intermediate, and obviously not to mention that he was a member of that legendary 2018 Bravado roster alongside the likes of your Sonic, JT, Detrity, and Fady. So you've got star players galore in this roster: firepower, experience, and intelligence. Basically all you can ask for in a CS roster. So Goliath, they're definitely going to be the team to beat, and without a doubt are the favorites to take the #1 spot this leg. Now only time will tell how accurate my predictions are going to be. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you did enjoy this video, feel free to drop a like, even drop a sub. I mean, it doesn't cost anything, so it would mean a lot to me if you do maybe drop a sub. If you didn't enjoy this video and maybe have a few critiques for me, please feel free to drop that down in the comments, as I would love to just continuously be able to improve on my content, because I mean, this is my first video that I've recorded like this, so please give me any pointers to improve on in the future. And otherwise, have a great day, great night, whatever time of the day that you're watching this video, and stay safe.
Hey, off the juice, coding got me tripping.